Hello, and today we're with Mr. Cho Wong, who's the Managing Director of Compass Edge Europe. Good afternoon to you, Cho.
Good afternoon and welcome to my home.
Thank you, thank you indeed for your kind hospitality, and I must say it is a beautiful home indeed.
Thank you.
Now, it's exciting times at Compass Edge because they've just opened, in fact you have just opened the European headquarters for Compass Edge in London. Could you tell us a little bit about this expansion, what this office means, please?
Yes, because the founder of the company, Compass Edge, Anita, she started a company in Singapore, and I think she had offices in Hong Kong and mainland China. But the thing is, the main idea of this service, of this company, is to help hotels in the West to capture the Chinese market. So it makes sense to have some presence in Europe. And it's just an opportunity that I am available. So she and I decided we should set up this company called Compass Edge Europe in the UK.
What specifically will this company be doing here in Europe?
Yeah, we will be promoting one of the key services that Compass Edge offers to hotels, which is what we call the Go China package. And Go China is an interesting term, because we use that because China is going places. So China goes, but we in the West, especially hoteliers in the West, are not that prepared for that market. So we need to go China to understand what is required and then to tackle the market properly.
Why do you feel the timing is right now to open an office here in Europe, in London?
No doubt you've heard of the Chinese president. He has this One Belt, One Road initiative. And the Chinese government is spending a lot of money in neighboring countries, following the Silk Route, and then they end up in Europe. So, and also, Europe is a very hot, if you like, destination of all these different cities and countries for mainland Chinese, purely because of two things. One is the history. They like all these old-looking buildings and all the historic stories they learned about when they were at school. The other thing is cleanliness. For example, Northern Europe, the Nordic countries, are famous for ice, snow, pure air, and that's what's lacking, unfortunately, in China. So people who got the money and got the time would love to be there. And I heard the other day, Switzerland is #1 destination.
For Chinese travellers?
For Chinese travellers.
And number two, do you remember?
Number 2 is Finland, for Lapland.
For Father Christmas.
Yeah, for Father Christmas.
That's going to be busy this year for sure.
Oh yes, I went there about 2 years ago and I was surprised, full of Chinese independent travellers. I want to have that kind of experience.
When you mention they're independent travellers, because a lot of people think of Chinese travellers as group travellers, how do you see the independent travellers growing and emerging? How important is the FIT market in China to hotels in Europe now?
Now, looking back in history, the first wave of travellers from China is, I think it's 10, 20 years ago, or even further, when China started to open door. They had sent a lot of engineers and people, managers, to learn about the Western way of doing things. And that was very restricted. And then the last 20 years, especially the last 10 years, the economy has been growing so much that people now is rich in assets, but poor in time. So, first thing is they would go and join a tour, to go and see, say, 7 countries in 8 days in Europe. But then the next time round, they would say, I like to choose this, I've been there, or I've never been there, but I heard about it. I don't want to go to places that too many Chinese go now. I want to choose this destination to actually spend some time to experience it. So it is changing. I think the last index I read, there would be about 10% growth for the FIT market each year. And 80% of people, when they were asked whether they like to do their own traveling arrangement or to want to do join a group, 80% plus said they want to do their own traveling.
Exciting times ahead. And it reminds me very much of the Japanese market, possibly maybe 30 years ago or so, which was very, very similar in that sense. You had a lot of group travellers at that time. Now it's all independent, FITs.
Absolutely. But I think Chinese will leapfrog that simply because for the Japanese market, language is a big barrier, and the younger ones are all right, but the older generation, they're not very good in and trying to learn English, for example, or Spanish or French. But the younger Chinese generation, I mean, English is the second language they learned. Obviously Mandarin, and in the older generation Russian. So the Chinese, the language aspect has been already in the culture. So I think it would take China less time to get to that stage that people will feel comfortable. And when you look at it's now abolished, the one-child family kind of policy, because of only one child, they would put, it's very Chinese custom, put all the asset and energy for that child to get the best that child can. Like, for example, studying abroad, because it's very competitive in China, so the next best thing is to study abroad. When they go and study abroad, they learn the culture. And then mum and dad will want to join them at the graduation ceremony, and then what do? They travel around in that small group.
We will come back to language, but for now let's just stay with the European office. Which countries will you be focusing your priorities on the most here in Europe?
At the moment, the tier would be Northern Europe. So UK, Ireland, I mentioned Finland, Sweden, Denmark, for example. And we're looking into Russia as well gradually. But then the next wave would be France, because Paris is one of the popular destinations. France will be the next one. And then Southern Europe, Spain, for example. Now, having said that, let's not forget Eastern Europe, because of its proximity to the old Russia. And that, I think, there will be a growth area there as well.
What are the company's targets for the next 5 to 10 years? How are you going to measure the success of this company? What are your targets?
We set up a very modest one, for example. The first year, say if we have 50 hotels joining the Go China package, it would be lovely. And then we would hopefully double that and triple that in the next few years.
How are you going to do this? Are you going to open rep offices in other countries within Europe, or will you be running all the operations from here in the UK?
We have already got 2 business developers, one in Finland and one in Sweden, and we try to replicate that. It's been quite successful, but I think the majority of the work in this year or 2 years is education, so that the hoteliers would understand, would realize how big that potential is, to gear their thinking towards how do I be ready to capture that market, and how can I make sure when the Chinese travelers come to my hotel, they have the best time in their life, and then they go back and talk about it, because social media is a very big thing in China. And when you have the word of mouth, whew.
How are you going to overcome this understanding? Because as you say, it is educate people about the different markets in China and about what the Chinese travellers want. What are Chinese travellers looking for today?
Now, we talk about tour group, and I don't think this is the kind of target we want. FIT is the target, and the thing is, why we think about it first is, why do they come to this country or to this city or to this destination? There must be a reason. They want to taste the local cuisine. They want to look at different things that the majority would not realize. So as a hotelier, if I'm a hotel running that, I would want to make sure that I will emphasize on my selling point, which is what is next to me, close to me in terms of sights and experience. I think that's a very major word now, the experience. So we want that to be in front of our target audience. Now, you can have a beautiful website in the West, but I think everybody knows, because of the Great Firewall of China, the other side in China, they can't see you, they can't Google you, nothing will happen. So because we realize that, so part of the package is to make sure that we have a Chinese focused and localized website for the hotel to explain what I just said, what is specific that the Chinese want, so we can have that audience captured, so they understand it. So when they actually come and do their traveling arrangements, I've seen that hotel, I follow them on WeChat, I should choose that one.
How long does this process start from sitting down to you to learning about Go China Go? How long does it take for hotels to get involved and to start seeing product revenue coming in from more revenue, more hotels being booked through your system?
Yeah, no one can put a timeline on that, unfortunately. Simply because when you look at when China opened the door, major international companies went into China, a lot of blood and sweat sort of invest in it, and it would take a long time. Now, for example, the car companies, it took them 20 years to break into the market. Now, a lot of the cars are produced in China for the local market. So I don't think there's a quick fix for that. We need to have time to build up that. We put seeds in the Chinese traveler's mind, but it would take time for them to say, okay, I've seen it so many times on your social media. This is the one I want to try out. And then when they do come, it's very important to get what they want. And then they go back and talk about it on their Weibo and on other social media platform. Then you get the ball rolling. So I think it's very important to have the patience. But we have to start somewhere. If you don't invest, yes, you might get some Chinese visitors coming to your hotel, but then all your competitors are having the kind of share. You want to be different. And also, I think one other thing is the independent hotels, they do not have the muscle of Marriott, Intercontinental, Accor, because these guys already investing in China for the last 5-10 years. They build hotels, they run hotels, so the brand is already in the Chinese traveler's mind. But what, as I said before, the FITs especially, they want something different. So when you go to McDonald's, same thing, doesn't matter where it is. When you go to Holiday Inn, the same thing, doesn't matter which city. I want to come to this country, I want to start something different. And using Finland as example, Lapland, these are independent hotels, they're not chains, right? So this is the opportunity for FITs to try independent hotels so that they can have a richer experience of their trip. And turn it around, this is the era for independent hotels to capture that market.
You mentioned competitors. Of course, Compass Edge is not alone in this arena. What makes working with Compass Edge different possibly from others, from your competitors? What is the advantage to working with Compass Edge?
I looked at the market. To be honest, I can only find one or two really competing with what we do, but it is not really competing either. They are focused on, say, for example, welcome Chicago or welcome to London. So they're working for destination authorities to market the destination rather than independent hotels or individual hotels. When I look at it, there's not many there, or I could say none there, to doing what we're doing. And also the other fact is we are fortunate enough, and we put a lot of work in it, to have the official WeChat account, and that A is impossible if you're not a Chinese company, and B, it needs a lot of work in order to get to that status. So we are fortunate enough to be in that category. So because of that, we give the independent hotels an unparalleled opportunity.
You and I both understand WeChat. Some people, somebody sat in a hotel in Liverpool, North Wales, possibly in Scotland, might not understand the value of WeChat. What exactly is WeChat, and how does WeChat differ from Weibo?
Right. Weibo is like Twitter, so short messages. And Twitter is banned in China, by the way, so that's why we got Weibo, and that's little messages coming through. And you may see on a Sunday or Saturday football match, Premier League, sit in the stadium, the TV shows you, and a little banner coming to join our Weibo chat, blah blah blah, and from different football clubs, for example. And they're using that because they know there's a big market for football fans in China. So they're already using that. For WeChat, it's a bit different. WeChat is an official channel. You can produce articles about this particular destination and then talk about the hotels at the end. So it is a platform totally different to, say, a Facebook, because Facebook is banned in China. So there's no way you can use Facebook to market yourself. So this is a Chinese equivalent that you can do so. And I said before, the WeChat, the official channel is very restricted. So we are using that. Plus, we engage a lot of celebrities that from time to time, because they have millions of followers, and we're talking millions, big numbers in China. So when they say something, people follow. So we also use these different kind of opportunities to market the hotels in China itself.
A lot of people don't realise how big China is, how enormous it is. You can't market yourself everywhere. There's different markets within China. There are different markets within districts and provinces within China. Which areas of China are you concentrating on the most?
That's a very good question. When in the West, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, right, you would have a Cantonese style, you have a Beijing style, you have a Sichuan style. Same. China is a big country, different provinces, and different provinces have different development in terms of how the tourism grows, and the coastal cities and the region, as well as the Pearl River Delta. Like Guangzhou, Shenzhen, they are the ones who are more advanced, if you like, than the inner side of China. We are focused at the moment on the tier 1 cities. There will be in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, but also with the alliance that we have, the southern region, and also powered also by Hong Kong and Macau. This is the biggest region of outbound traffic for tourism from China.
Now, in terms of budget, independent hotels have always got smaller budgets than, of course, a massive chain, as you mentioned, like IHG or one of the others. What sort of money, what sort of investment are we looking at to partner with Go Campus Edge and use Go China Go? What sort of investment is required from an independent hotel?
Time and belief, because there's an old Chinese saying, the country is not built from one day. So if you are serious about the market, you need to spend time and also the belief that the Go China package will help you. In terms of financial commitment, we're not talking about huge money, because independent hotels do not have that kind of financial muscle. We're talking about maybe 2-room rates a month, something like that. So it's very affordable. And the way we do it, we do it the smart way. Because a lot of companies, I'm not talking about hotels, but a lot of companies, manufacturers, they see China as a big black hole. You can chunk in a lot of money and nothing in return. So it really depends on how smart you are. And fortunately, we do know what we're doing. So we can fairly confidently, we can help hotels at least to start with the branding, to make sure that they are known to the audience.
One of the themes of this interview has been very much social media. There you've just mentioned branding, making sure the hotels are known. But of course, what is very important is once they are known, once they have that branding, and once the guest stays there, is making sure that the quality and the service is there at the hotel once they're at the property.
Oh gosh.
How do you help hotels with this, whether it be from language, whether it be with technology, getting them to understand what the needs of a Chinese guest is compared to somewhere else in the world?
Yeah, that's back to the education thing, and I plan to do a lot of seminars and be involved in conferences and to spread the message. I mean, for a China-ready hotel, to my perspective, would be at least you have something like an A4 page in Chinese. Tell people when they arrive what's your breakfast time and on the rest of it. And an interesting subject came up and said, oh, we don't have a Chinese restaurant. Well, it doesn't matter. You find your own friendly Chinese restaurant nearby with good food. So you put down that piece of paper, you go out of the door, you turn left for 20 meters, and then you'd go right, and that will be there. And tell us that we send you there. So there are lots of ways of doing it. Ideally, of course, Chinese-speaking staff, but it's not possible for every hotel. So at least if there's something in Chinese that they can refer to, that would be great. But I also heard that some Chinese company are already starting doing lots of different things on the mobile. So an FIT actually, when they come to London, for example, they can follow that, and it's all the information will be there. So it is changing because of technology. But back to square one, is you do need a good localized website in China to tell the people what they want to listen. It's not what you want to. Western audience is very different to Chinese audience. So the main thing is to make sure your Chinese website tells what the Chinese customers or travelers want to know.
Well, yes, and I think we should just clarify this again. A lot of people are saying, well, I've already got my website translated in Chinese. Can you just clarify what is the difference? If I translate my website here, which is hosted in America, what is the difference about what you're talking about when it comes to localized hosting?
Yeah, a few things about localization. One is a direct translation could be easy. You can either go to Google Translate and then a load of words come out in Chinese you don't even know what it's talking about, and then you might be upside down, inside out. And the other thing is what you are telling your audience in the West may not be exactly what the Chinese would want to know. For example, they might want to know where is the nearest Gucci outlet. That's not what people want to see, but it's very important to them maybe. So that sort of thing is very important. The other thing is the speed. You would have a translated website hosted in the West, but because of the internet filtering, it would take, after I think 10 seconds or even less, people say, oh no, I don't want to know. So you lose the opportunity. And that's why that localization also means having your Chinese focused website hosted inside China, so there's no filtering. And the other thing is, where you host your website in the West can make another difference, which is political. If it is host or co-hosted, and then on that server somebody else says something that is not appropriate, it will be banned and cut. So your effort will be wasted. And we are very careful. So in our hosting is done on Alibaba, our own server there. So it's clean and it's secured.
And finally, for my last question, could you name 3 hotels that for you really stand out, that are really making an effort, and could even be used as an example to what other hotels should be doing with regards to attracting Chinese travelers?
We have already customers that are on that program, and I think it's better for people who come to our website and read about it. What I'm thinking about is I turn it the other way around. I thought 3 hotels could benefit from it, but I haven't spoken to them yet. The first one is 5 Arrows. It's a small hotel, 5 Arrows in Watston, owned by the Rothschild family. Why I say that is Watston is very near Bicester Village, where a lot of Chinese would go and do their shopping, because there are lots of outlets there, and it's a magnet for Chinese visitors. And that hotel's not far. And we talk about FIT. Now people started to drive to when they are in a different country, they start driving. So that would be one of the interesting places that people should look at. The other one is Hotel Football in Manchester, because I think they are co-owned by a number of very famous footballers from Manchester United. And football is big in China, and if they can go onto the package, whoa, you can even attract more Chinese. And the other one I can think of is Man of Roads, which is not far from Standard Airport. They have a lovely golf course, and again, people want to come here, relax, and totally forget about all the hustle and bustle back in Beijing or Shanghai. That would be ideal. So I haven't contacted those 3 hotels yet, but I think they will be ideal to try it. For those who hadn't done it yet, as I said, we have already customers in Finland and other places.
Excellent. Well, Cho, I have to say thank you very much indeed for your time today, and of course I wish you and Campus Edge Europe and Campus Edge, of course, in Hong Kong the best of luck for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for coming.